Welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia Schneider, the podcast that takes you on a journey around the world to meet some of the most inspiring and accomplished individuals. Discover their stories, uncover invaluable business lessons from their paths to success, and gain exclusive insights on how to apply their strategies to elevate your life.
Hello, and welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia. I'm your host, Patty Schneider. Today I'm joined by Susie deVille. So welcome, Susie. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi there. I'm so happy to be here. I am the founder and CEO of the Innovation and Creativity Institute, and I help entrepreneurs and visionary leaders connect with their innate creativity, home in on who they truly are, and unlock their entrepreneurial potential.
Very nice. That's kind of it in a nice big nutshell. So now, can you explain the concept of the Creative Rebels Voyage and how it empowers entrepreneurs to unlock their creative potential?
Absolutely. So this is something that I created out of necessity when I went into what I refer to as my nuclear winter period, which began when the markets crashed in 2008 and everything in my life kind of imploded. And I thought to myself at that point, if I could figure out a way to get out of the various messes that I was in, then I was going to reach back and help as many people as I possibly could. And my sort of hard-charging entrepreneurial self thought initially the smartest move would just be simply to work more, right? I can work my way out of this hole that I'm in. And what I found was that, nope, that's not going to work. And so I had to redesign how I lived and how I worked. And I created a coaching methodology as a result of this time in the fire that I blended with the research that I had been doing on innovation and creativity. So the Creative Rebels Voyage is a framework to help you reach the success and freedom that you crave through a very surprising path, which is tapping into your innate creativity. And once we sort of turn the ship around, so to speak, and stop this yoking ourselves to more work and more discipline and, trying to live with the mantra of, I'll sleep when I'm dead and all of that stuff. It is a way for us to come back to the helm of our own lives and regain control and confidence and a lot of self-assuredness and get us out of overwhelm. So it accomplishes a lot through a very surprising and different path than most people tend to be exposed to.
I'm sure a lot of people kind of are stuck in that rut because it is, like I find myself doing the same. It's like, you're trying to reach a certain point and it's basically, I'm not working hard enough. Meanwhile, my husband's always going to let me put the phone down and I'm like, I'm checking emails, you just don't feel like you're getting anywhere. And in the world we live in now, it's even harder. So trying to find how do you fix this problem? I think that's amazing that you're kind of giving back and helping people with that.
Well, and two, I just want to point out that as a phone addict myself, and I have to really force myself to take those breaks away from technology and start to focus instead on the analog world or being out in nature. And those things will take us 12 times faster to the goals that we seek. But our brain is always going to tell us there's not enough time and we should just keep working because somehow that's going to give us an edge.
Yeah, one would hope. So now, what inspired you to write Buoyant and what core message do you hope readers take away from it?
So I wrote Buoyant for entrepreneurs and creators who are really stuck, riddled with self-doubt, who believe that the path to the success that they really crave is this world of working more and having more discipline and trying to hack productivity. And in the book, I take people through a process to not only reclaim their authentic self, but to do so by amping up their sense of agency, the power over their own lives and their own enterprises, and take them through kind of a magical journey through doing exercises and really fun things that people will initially resist because most people think, oh, I can't sketch. I don't have time. It sounds like something for retired people. And every single person who has gone through the process not only regains their life back, their joy back, their well-being back, but they ultimately always scale their enterprises and find ways to add adventure and travel and fun back into their lives and much more time to do the things that they love to do that bring them alive.
That's awesome. I mean, it's just, basically making them reborn again. That's nice. Now, you challenge traditional advice for entrepreneurs. So what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about achieving success?
Well, we've touched on quite a few, but I want to let people know that if we can champion one thing to get started with, it's kind of the lead domino, and that is to stop worrying about managing time, which we're all kind of in that gerbil wheel of trying to solve for more time or solve for working harder, and instead focus on managing your energy. Because if you manage your energy well, how much time you work almost becomes irrelevant. And I know that sounds absurd for me to say, but I can tell you from being a former 80-hour-a-week gal to someone who works 4 days a week now and travels a lot for fun. And so I'll take big stretches of time away from my business without missing a beat, because the doing of the things that bring us alive with a full bucket of inspiration and energy helps us have the best connection to our intuition, our imagination, our problem-solving skills, and we are literally more magnetic because people can sort of feel the resonance of us, the energy and frequency of us. And initially they might go, I wonder what she's all about. And if our message is in alignment with who we are authentically, and we're living a big, courageous, fun life, that is pretty irresistible. So your clients come to you in great numbers, and you don't have to kind of go to push marketing. You're really pulling people towards you, and you can be very selective. So the high quality, fun, just hilarious either clients or teams of people with whom you're working spark your imagination even further. You can request and land very high paying, gigs, and bring your best to this work. So you become your work and your quality of work and how you're living a high quality life helps you build a beautiful word of mouth referral business. And it tends to be so much more enjoyable for the entrepreneur who may not be interested in all kinds of outbound marketing efforts that can fall flat, be frustrating, be expensive, and be another huge drag on your time.
Oh, that makes total sense. Now, how does rediscovering creativity help entrepreneurs build more successful and fulfilling businesses?
So we're all creative. We're all artists. And I know immediately everyone who's listening will mostly will say, oh, that's not for me. I'm not an artist. I'm not creative. I can tell you that we tend to just sort of leave our creative selves back in childhood and not bring it forward into our adult lives. And something that is very important for us all to be aware of is what Dr. Brené Brown points out, which is we're all creative. It's just that some people express it and others don't. And unexpressed creativity is not benign. It is actually toxic to us. So the converse of that, if we tap into our creativity and we express what is naturally there and have kind of a daily practice where 5 minutes or so we're just playing around in that world without an attachment to some kind of outcome or product. Oh, I have to have a beautiful picture at the end, or my sketch has to be amazing. But if we're more interested in the time spent creating or playing around, let's say we're making a new dish in the kitchen, all of that counts. This tapping into to our creativity and having this time moving our hands is a wonderful way to light up different parts of our brain. It releases dopamine into our system. It's very calming, very soothing. And for people who are dealing with burnout and overwhelm, it's a way to reset your body and your central nervous system. And what's really fun is if you play in this world, it begins to connect you not only to your intuition, but more to your courage. And when we have more courage, we take bold action. And when we take bold action, then we also ignite the world of serendipity and synchronicity. So a little bit goes a long way. And we will pretend that it's not an essential thing, that it's frivolous, it's for children, certainly not the hard-charging entrepreneur, and that it has to be complicated, or I don't have the right gear, the right materials, I don't know what I'm doing. But I do show lots of different ways to bring this into your daily life and easy ways to get started. So you can start with a pencil and a Post-it note in 5 minutes, and that's more than enough.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've found a couple places like out by me that I don't know if it's meant to be a stress relief or creativity, aspect, but I saw two of them. One was just a place where you can actually create plates or do little drawings, and the other place was kind of you dress them like this overall, and you just throw paint everywhere, and you make these crazy abstract things, but it's just getting it out, And these places are usually packed. So I guess there's definitely a need for people for stress relief, but then at the end, they're like, that was really fun, and look what I did, and now I could do it again. And
yes, I love both of those examples. That's a perfect thing. You can lean into a group, as you point out, and let them provide the structure for you. And you're going to meet new people, but you're going to have this electric experience. I can tell you, no matter how much of a creativity curmudgeon you may be, you become an instant believer, because it is not like anything else that we do. So
now, taking a little different approach, what lessons from your journey as a real estate entrepreneur influence your transition to coaching and writing?
So I have been a licensed real estate agent since 2001. Can you believe it? 25 years almost. And I have always loved the industry. I mean, I just loved it from the first class to get my license. In that first meeting, I just knew this is really interesting. And I kind of had real estate ability on some chromosome because I just had a knack for it naturally. So I've always loved doing deals and advocating for clients and putting really great investments together for buyers and helping sellers move on to another property, et cetera. And I still do that work to this day. It's just a much lower degree. Percentage of time is probably, 10%, I would say.
Okay.
And I only work with a handful of clients. But what this journey has taught me, because I was licensed in 2001. I was working with other offices. In 2011, so I'm kind of midway through my nuclear winter period at this point, I started my own real estate company and renovated part of a building. And I'm not recommending this, by the way, but this is what I did. I renovated part of a building on credit cards, launched this business. Everybody thought I was insane, but I could see the market was turning, and I could see that I had an opportunity to do something really interesting and different in my market. And we were very successful. And it was an incredible experience to have created this from zero and then sort of handpick a buyer for the enterprise. So I sold the business in 2018. And real estate has always been like this really fun sort of magic carpet ride for me. And all of the challenges and fear that I had in starting this enterprise in the middle of a recession, and when my personal life was really not in a good spot, it really taught me that making a decision was everything, because I could go back and forth doing pros and cons list until the end of time. But ultimately what I decided was I was going to bet on me. And that choice during a very challenging period in my life ignited something in me and because I knew that I wanted to do a new dream. I knew I wanted to take real estate much, less as part of my work schedule. And I wanted to see if I could take this Innovation and Creativity Institute to a whole new level. I had been doing the work by that point when I sold the enterprise for 12 years. And I wanted to take it to a new level, and I wanted to write a book. So I took the lessons of making courageous decisions from real estate and brought it into the work that I do with the Institute and with my coaching and with my writing and my own artwork. And real estate gave me sort of like being turned on a lathe in a positive way. Not all of it was fun, but it was an interesting way to build a certain kind of musculature for what I needed to do the next dream.
Okay, well, everything has its purpose, right?
Right.
You mentioned that we can't overachieve our way into a sense of self. So how can entrepreneurs shift from overachieving to thriving?
Well, the first thing is that we are well suited to stop the lie from our brain and from culture, which is, in order for us to have value, we need to be achieving. And a lot of us, I will definitely put my hand in the air and say this was me too, for sure, that I wanted to get the A+. I wanted to be the good girl. I wanted to rack up the awards and the certifications and this evidence that I deserve to take up space and oxygen on the planet. And I tied my worth completely to achievement. So when we do that, when we don't believe that we just sort of arrive on the scene with self-worth and value and intrinsic worth, then we're automatically getting into this hoop jumping kind of mentality. If I do this, I'll, get the next thing, get the next thing, get the next thing. So what happens is when we're entrepreneurs who are believing this lie, then we will work ourselves to a nub, because not only do we believe that if we work harder, the enterprise is going to be successful, but we also believe that if we work harder, will be more valuable, will be worthy of love and connection. So it's important for us to be aware that that is as a falsehood and to kind of take some time to take some inventory of, okay, where am I thinking that? And how is that showing up in my personal life, in my business, how I make decisions? And this is where a journaling practice can be very helpful, even if it's just for a couple of minutes a day. And you can start to spot where overachieving and overwhelm are connected in your own behavior.
No, it totally makes sense because we all, I agree 100%. Like we all kind of feel like we need some validation of some sort. And yeah. Now, you emphasize art as a partner to entrepreneurship. So how do creative practices like art making fuel business innovation?
So I will take you through, let me give you two of what I call the 5 M's, because I think this is really fun, practical information for people to have. And it will help not only listeners create their own practice, but I can also explain how doing things like this really feed into innovation as well as financial success. So the first M that I want to talk about is morning pages, which is the brainchild of author Julia Cameron, who wrote the book, The Artist's Way. Morning pages is 3 pages of longhand writing in the morning every day. Now, there are some folks who will say that's way too much pressure. I don't want to have to come up with 3 pages. So just start with 1 page or start with half a page. Don't buy a journal that looks beautiful and pristine and precious because you're going to be too afraid to quote unquote mess it up. So get a ratty notebook from somewhere and just start and begin this process of getting what's in your head that's occupying your thoughts, almost like a program or two that's running in the background on a computer. It's pulling energy and focus away, but we're not really aware of it. But when we start to do morning pages, even if it's 1 page or 3 pages of just whining, I sometimes will have morning pages that look like that. So, or you can have 3 pages of celebrating something, or 3 pages of strategy, or 3 pages of just whatever you dreamt about last night that's, bugging you. Yeah. Whatever it is that's occupying your brain, just dump it out onto the page. Doesn't have to be well written, punctuated properly, anything like that. It can just be mumbo jumbo, but get rid of it. That in and of itself will begin to produce results for you because it will fill you with a new sense of calm and connection to your best thinking. Because without all of that noise and dissonance in your brain, you now can send a taproot into your creativity centers, and you're going to be a much better problem solver. You're going to be able to spot innovative ways to try and do new things. The next M that I want to talk about, which is the one that everybody really resists and fights me on, is the making something M. This, again, does not have to be, you don't have to buy a whole new, paint set or lots of materials. You can literally start, again, with a little notebook and an envelope. And for 1 week, you can look for things that stop you in your tracks. So it could be a color swatch. It could be a word in a magazine. It could be an image that you see and print out. It could be something that you gather when you're on a fun date or a fun trip, and you're taking a little piece of a map or a piece of a cocktail napkin or whatever it is, and you're gathering these sort of little mementos that fill you with a little kind of zinging energy, and collect it in an envelope for about a week. And then just keep collecting. But after you have about a week's worth of fun stash, you can now reach in there in the morning, take a glue stick, pull 3 things out of that envelope, and make a little simple collage. Put it in this little notebook. The next, and it literally 5 minutes. And then the next day, the same thing. Keep collecting, keep making these little compositions. But what you're doing is you're training yourself to be a better curator of what brings you alive. You will have a better connection to what your soul is craving. And every single day, as you flip through this book to go to the next blank page, you're going to be going through all of these collages, and each one is going to be a beautiful reminder. And that practice, and there's so many different things that you can try, but I love this one because it has a power of accumulation just like morning pages. Morning pages is more kind of clearing the decks for best problem solving and thinking. This is your sort of super highway to your soul and to your intuition and to these beautiful insights, and also a much more playful and fun, adventurous life, because there's going to be things in there that you flip through and you're like, you know what? Because maybe you have a little piece of a map from a trip that you took to Europe, and you're going to go, I need another adventure like that. I'm going to book another trip, or whatever it is for you. But we're great at completely stopping and forgetting to do the things that we love because life got busy. And this is a great way to reconnect with those things.
I love that. I mean, I could see it, it is true, because it could be a car that went by, you're driving, a license plate. It's something that just kind of caught your attention. And the memories, like I know my my dad, when he was dating my mom, everywhere they went, like to every beach, they would always collect a rock or a shell, and they kept them in a jar. And it was always like, as the jar filled up, they were like, that was all their memories. Like every time they'd say, I remember picking this one, so I love that idea.
And that's so interesting too, because there is an energy with these artifacts of these adventures. And so I know every time your parents would pick one of those up, they would literally probably feel that energy shift in their body.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. Now tell us, what are some actionable steps entrepreneurs can take to restore and protect their creative energy?
So I have something that I created called your creative circadian rhythms.
Okay.
And I stumbled upon this accidentally because I've always been a morning person. And at that, this was prior to my working on my book. I would get up at 5 o'clock and I would have great access to my best thinking, my best creativity until probably around noon or so. When I was working on my book, I had an editor who was receiving pages from me pretty much on a daily basis. And in order to keep up with her timeline, I had to get up earlier. And so I started getting up at 4. Now, before anybody starts to think that, oh my God, she's going to make us get up at 4 o'clock or even earlier, please no. I want you to know right now, your creative circadian rhythm is whatever is true for you. So I would get up earlier. So I got up at 4. My writing at 4 was very different than my writing at 5. Okay. Very different. It was like taking dictation. And I thought, well, let's see what happens if I get up at 3. So I did. And it was even more astounding as to the quality of the work. So what I decided to do was change my schedule. So I started to go to bed earlier, and I have complete focus, clarity, access to my creativity from 3 until about 10, 11 o'clock at my peak. Then early afternoon, forget it. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
But that's fine because I've done all of the work that I need to do, whether I'm writing or coaching or teaching, whatever it is that I'm doing. And I have the afternoon, evening to do whatever I want to do.
Right.
So for all of us, there is one, or some of us have two of these windows. So if we get really good at figuring out what those windows or window is for us, then we have to protect it. And this is tricky because it's not a perfect science. There will be times when you have to book the meeting, the dull meeting or whatever during your peak creativity time, and you can't change it. But if we hit about an 80% success rate with designing our schedule completely around our CCR, what happens is that the quality of your work is easily 3 times more powerful, more rich, more innovative. And we don't have to do the same thing that we were just talking about earlier, which is feel this strange need to constantly be connected because we don't feel like we've done the great work for the day. So we just keep at it. And what happens is that you start to get really great at setting boundaries for yourself, especially with people who perhaps need a strong boundary in order for you to maintain your sense of self and your health and happiness, but also with our own selves, with not working every single minute that we can, right? We start to go, okay, I put in great focused time. I hit it out of the park. I'm going to now take a walk or read a book or, pat my dog.
Right.
And it really shifts how we move in the world. And once we start to get really good at sort of protecting this creative energy and having boundaries for ourselves and others, it has a domino effect in other decisions that we make that are healthy and strong decisions toward our agency as well. So it all is connected.
Oh, that's nice. And I like, it is true how everybody's schedules are a little different. Like I'm a morning person too. And at one time I was working in the city. I was catching the 5:25 train in the morning so that I could get in there early so I could go to the gym, get that done before I started work. And I like to start work before everybody else got in so I could unwind, have my breakfast before everybody comes in and starts barking at me, but I'm the same because some other people, their schedules are different. So nowadays, people have like little side gigs and everything has to be done, Zoom meetings, blah, 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 all after hours. And I'm like, yeah, but nights and weekends are my me time and I'm exhausted by the, so it's kind of like you have to just get that balance. And, I'm always like, well, do you have a replay? I'll listen to it after. I'm not going to be fully attentive if I'm going on this at 8:00 at night or 9:00 at night. I'm going to bed, So,
I would be speaking, gibberish at 8 p.m. And people know, it's funny, people now know so well that they're like, I just had somebody, I'm doing a collab with a wonderful professional on a project, and she said, well, I can't do the meeting until probably 4:30 or 5. And I'm like, well,
yeah.
said, you're not going to get, she's like, oh, right. She said, we'll just do it at 6 a.m. And I'm like, perfect. So people, if you get really good at knowing what your window is and telling people, hey, I want to give you my best brain, it's not going to happen at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
But at 8 a.m., you're going to get some great stuff, I promise.
Right. Just talk to somebody in another time zone, but we'll meet.
Right. That is tricky too. And again, it's not a perfect science because when I traveled in 2023, when I went to Europe for 4 months, I'm doing meetings and, coaching and doing webinars and all of that while I'm traveling. And, I'm 6 hours ahead But I'm like, hey, I'm also, hanging out over the Mediterranean, so I can stay up a
Pick
little
and choose
later.
your battles, yeah. Yeah. Now tell us, what's been your biggest challenge in your career, and how did creativity and resilience help you overcome it?
I would say the biggest challenge really was my nuclear winter period. It was 5 years of just everything imploding, my finances, my marriage, my health, and really just being in this place of uncertainty and fear to the point where I didn't have that great connection to my ability to think through and problem solve because I was just so anxiety ridden. And so connecting with my creativity during that time and also bringing back doing the things that bring me alive, I started to get really good at taking care of myself through. And at this point, I'm doing the 5 M's, but I'm not calling it the 5 M's. I'm changing how I'm living and working. And I was testing things, but it wasn't a cohesive plan because I'm just trying things. It's after the fact that I could look back and go, okay, what was it exactly that I did? So when I was writing my book, I reverse engineered how I pulled myself out. It was like, what were the things that made the difference for me? Mm-hmm. And so these were the practices that really helped me. And I go through all of the M's in the book, as well as lots of examples and things that you can try. So no matter where you are on the continuum, I was kind of at the bottom of the barrel, kind of like a person on a gurney. In every way, somebody could be on a gurney, not just physically. Mm-hmm. But then you might have somebody who is kind of midpoint on the continuum and somebody who's pretty close to being where they want to be. Mm-hmm. These practices will help you no matter where you are because we're always undergoing change. We're always needing to explore new frontiers. These things require energy and courage. And so every single time that we tap into and engage with the 5 M's, then we're releasing this newfound sort of agency and courage and willingness to do the scary things that are the path to reaching the dreams that we all have.
It's like that mental preparation getting you there. Now tell us, as someone who's empowered many entrepreneurs, particularly women, what advice do you have for women navigating traditional male-dominated spaces?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to really take great care of your agency. Mm-hmm. And if it has gotten sort of muddled or watered down, or you've lost it entirely, like it certainly has happened to me, that's job number one, getting your agency back. And in order for us to even begin this process, if you feel like you're being sort of dragged behind the boat and you're not able to make decisions on your own behalf, or you're grappling with a lot of challenges in an industry because you're a woman, it can be any situation really where we might feel like or know that we're at a disadvantage or we're being marginalized. It's important for us to remember something that Dylan Thomas said in a poem, which is creativity is the force through the green flower that, creativity is the force through the green fuse that drives the flower. So that is what we're after. Because if we are being sort of marginalized or held down or back for whatever reason, we've got to get that energetic force that's driving the bloom of us out. And that is the combination of reclaiming and doing inspiring work, inspiring exercises, inspiring moments of joy that fill our tanks with energy and willingness, and then pairing that then with one or two or more of the M's, and being in this place where we are expressing ourselves creatively, regardless if anybody else ever sees it. This combination is deadly to self-doubt. And once we reclaim that confidence and that clarity, we exude a different energetic signature. And it's not foolproof 100% of the time, but I can tell you, when there's a new energetic sheriff in town, people respond to you very differently, and they hear you very differently.
Interesting. Anything else you want to add that you want to talk about that we didn't already touch on?
Well, what's a question, like what's something for you personally that you might want to know about?
Let's see. I mean, I guess for me, because I'm kind of like everything you talked about in the beginning, that's usually me. It's like you're doing the same thing. And I guess it gets a little tricky because, like, say, for example, what I do IR, PR, marketing, and all that good stuff. Been doing it for 35 years. And I find that, like, in today's society, it feels like I live in a world where people just don't want to pay for anything. They don't respect your time. They don't value what you're doing. And then it makes me feel like a failure. And then I'm willing to charge less. And then people say, but then that's making you look worse. And it's kind of like, well, how do you come out of this whole situation? It's like, I stand behind everything I do. I give 150% of myself to everything. And it just, the world just makes you feel like it's, so what? Or they'll go with a younger person. And that drives me nuts because it's like, I have 35 years experience doing what I'm doing. What experience does someone right out of college have? So it makes you have a lot of self-doubt. Meanwhile, I shouldn't, but yeah, so that's kind of like my situation.
Well, let's talk about the importance of being able to articulate your unique genius. And it is a tricky thing for us entrepreneurs to get our hands around because we know what we do and we can be incredibly experienced and astute in all of this work that we do. So let's focus on getting very clear on what makes you unique in the marketplace, because your 35 years of experience is certainly on the list. And if you're fishing for people who believe that the work that you do is kind of like in the category of a commodity, your 35 years of experience is completely meaningless to them. Mm-hmm. They're looking for the cheapest banana, literally looking for who's going to do it the fastest and the cheapest. And you know what? Those aren't your people. And so your charge, all of our charge, is to get very clear about what separates you from everybody else and how that leverages your ability to attract exactly who your ideal client is. Mm-hmm. So your 35 years of experience now is a differentiator and a value multiplier. And you're looking for people who respect that level of experience, expertise, insight, and are willing to pay for it. They tend to, those things go together, just like the person who believes that a professional is in the same category as a commodity is looking for fastest and cheapest. Where we get thrown off is because when we're off center, and this is another reason why managing our energy and being really protective of it is so important, because when we're doing a good job of managing energy, we're on stable ground. People and clients and opportunities and things that come our way aren't going to pull us off center and get us to the point where we're compromising, lowering the price, taking the contract that we know isn't a fit, which further drains our energy and our focus. So if we get really good about being very clear on what our unique genius is what we're bringing to the market, then we can protect it with all the practices that we've just been talking about, and periodically can even up-level that even further. But we'll stay on the positive end of the continuum if we're really smart about energy and agency first, and our own belief in our expertise and what we bring that no one else can say.
We'll have to put all this to the test. No, I appreciate it. It gets frustrating, but I always just say, am I on another planet? What world am I living in anymore? But yeah.
And you're just speaking in the wrong room. That's all it is.
I will do my research. Well, now, how could people get a hold of you, find your book, learn more about you, and all that good stuff?
So you can go to my website, which is innovationandcreativityinstitute.com. There you can find me connect with me on all the social channels. Also, you can download a free entrepreneur toolkit, which has all kinds of great stuff in there. And also, you can learn more about my book, but you can also go directly to Amazon. It's generally offered at a discount there, and you can pick up a copy. And if you do pick up a copy and enjoy it, I would love for folks to leave a review. That's enormously helpful.
Very nice. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Susie deVille. So thanks for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Listening to Real Conversations with Patricia, talking with some of the most brilliant minds on their journey to success and their recommended strategies. Please leave your feedback and visit pristineadvisors.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, suggestions, and anything else you'd like me to cover. Together, we can make success happen for all.